Welcome back to the synopsis recaps today. I will display you a myth motion journey movie from 2020 title, The Old Golfing spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Whooping meets up with Andy on the road to inform her approximately a probable task they have in South Sudan, rescuing hostages. He tells her that James Copley, a former member of the CIA, is freelancing these forms of jobs now and wishes them to do it, and he would not need to take the activity. She's satisfied the sector isn't always really well worth saving anymore. However, Booker convinces her at least come lower back to the motel and communicate with Nikki and Jojo. That on the motel, all of them greet each different warmly, now no longer having visible every different in an extended time. The relaxation of the team scenes inclined to take the task. But Andy remains hesitant. She would not consider Copley. They persuade her to go together with Booker to have an assembly with him, simply to look what he has to mention. And she is of the same opinion. At the same time as Andy and Booker take a seat down at an out-of-doors desk close to a cafe, Nikki and Jojo watch from the resort window to make certain not anything is going wrong. In all likelihood explains the state of affairs to them and the way they may assist make a difference, and he's reluctant, however takes the task. She requested Copley why he left the CIA, and he tells her that he determined to take a spoil while his spouse were given sick. But whilst she died, he could not convey himself to head again. The group takes a helicopter to South Sudan, in which they stake out the hostage scenario. As soon as nighttime falls, they silently execute the guards and make their manner inner. Once inside the bunker, they found out that there aren't any hostages. There are cameras at the ceiling, and Andy realizes they have been set up, dozens of army personnel know the room and begin unloading their weapons. On the floor, they fall to the floor, blood pooling round them. The infantrymen flip their backs. Once they assume they are lifeless, however their frame begin to unexpectedly heal and expel the bullets. They arise from the floor and kill the infantrymen. All of this witnessed with the aid of using Copley. They buried her bloody garments inside the sand and hop on a teach inner. They talk their options. And he says that they've to discover Copley and kill him, since he has proof of him coming again to lifestyles in Afghanistan. Niles is a soldier inside the American forces. She is dispatched on a task to test on a collection of girls that they suppose is probably being held hostage via way of means of an enemy. When she confronts the girls, they silently point her inside the root of the person, and she or he enters the constructing to kill him. She shoots him inside the chest, and while she is going to test at the frame, the person slices her throat. Her pal holds her at the same time as she dies at the teach. The team has goals of Miles being killed and inside the medic tent in Afghanistan. Niles has desires of the team at the educate. The team realizes that the goals imply that there is every other certainly considered one among them. This frustrates Andy due to the fact she changed into looking to tie matters off with Copley and cross into hiding the relaxation of the group. Convince her that they want to discover Niles and take her in. She says she'll do it herself, and he or she'll meet them in Paris. They are tasked with monitoring down Copley. Niles realizes her pals are all cautious of her while they arrive to test on her, and she or he would not actually have a scar from the injury. The incident is said, and Niles is informed that she can be dispatched to Germany for extra trying out. She is going to her tent too, and that her pals have already packed up her matters in England. Merritt offers a presentation to loads of viable donors for STEM mobile studies. He tells them that he has the generation to determine out the way to give up human ailment and extend the human lifespan. All he desires is funding. Afterwards, Merritt meets with Copley and a number of his group and discusses Andy and her team. Copley indicates him the footage he became capable of get them coming return to existence. But Merrick is unhappy. He says he wishes difficult proof due to the fact human beings will simply suppose the video has been edited. Once finished, seize them and convey them to him. While Niles waits for a helicopter to choose her as much as take her to Germany, and he interferes and kidnaps her. She wakes up inside the trunk of a military car that Andy is riding and immediately attempts to escape. She kicks out the again and falls to the floor. But Andy prevents striving to get her while Niles attempts to run away, and he shoots her inside the lower back of the head. She waits for Niles to return to lifestyles, and whilst she does, and he tells her that if she desires solutions, she'll need to get again inside the car. Andy and Niles take a aircraft collaborating in drug trafficking to Paris. Now appears unhappy with the solutions and he has given her. And after Andy is going to sleep, Niles binds her to her chair and holds a gun to the pilot's head, telling him to show the aircraft round, and he wakes up and tells the pilot to play lifeless in Russian. So she will be able to distract him. The pilot returns to flying the aircraft to Paris, at the same time as Niles and Andy combat. Ultimately, Andy wins, and is capable of calm Niles down, sufficient to get her on board with going to Paris. Once they land in Paris, they join up with the relaxation of the team in an antique deserted church. They have dinner and get to recognize every different Booker have become immortal with inside the 18th century. Nikki and Joe met on the Crusades with inside the 12th century as enemies, and Andy tells that she is the oldest.
But do not forget how vintage she definitely is. They all visit mattress beside Andy, who sits up in a chair with inside the dwelling room. In the midnight, Niles has a nightmare that wakes all of us up. She explains that she dreamt of a female locked in an iron coffin drowning with inside the center of the sea. The team explains to her that she noticed Quinn, an immortal female that used to combat along Andy once they have been trying to lose ladies. Witchcraft. They have been stuck and accused of witchcraft themselves. When the city found out they could not die, it simply showed their suspicions, and they started working seeking to carry out the way to put off them. Eventually, they separated the girls and locked Queen in an iron coffin and tossed it into the sea inner. She drowns over and over, reviving best to die once more for eternity. They find that it's far viable for them to die, however it's miles very rare. They find that eventually, after an immortal has been loathed for lengthy sufficient, their wounds just prevent ting, meaning it's farther time. Andy and Niles speak out of doors approximately their cherished ones and the human beings they must depart in the back of so as to stay their new lives at the same time as they communicate.
They pay attention infantrymen outdoor the church. They recognize Copley has observed in which they have been hiding, and he looks after the infantryman as Copley watches from a surveillance van close by. Once they re-input the church, Joe and Nikki are nowhere to be observed. Booker has been blown up via way of means of a grenade, and it takes him some time to heal. Niles waits with Booker even as Andy kills the relaxation of the squatties. When she turns, they present up their matters and make their manner to any other hideout. Joe and Nikki awaken in a van, surrounded via way of means of soldiers. The infantrymen tease them for being homosexual and restrain them while they are trying to include. The van arrives to meet Copley in England, and the again of the van is open to expose that Joe and Nikki have killed everybody in her, while nevertheless being handcuffed. They are escorted to Merrick, who explains that he intends to apply them for STEM mobiler studies and could behavior experiments on them till he figures out a way to lengthen
the human lifespan. He makes it clear that he would not care what he has to do. To them or how a great deal ate there, and he simply wishes outcomes. Nikki and Jojo are taken away to a lab and Merrick demands that Copley convey him. Andy and Booker and Niles take safe haven in a deserted mine at the same time as Inner, and he realizes that she's nevertheless bleeding from the combat of the church and isn't always recuperation on her own.
She discreetly steps out, and Booker tells Niles approximately how tough it's far to watch all of your cherished ones die, mainly once they do not consider them, when they are saying that cannot assist. And he drives to a pharmacy and buy his clinical supplies. The cashier gives to assist get dressed her wounds with inside the lower back room. When Angie asks why the female is assisting her specifically without asking any questions, the girl says that she expects Andy to biscuit at the act of kindness to a person else tomorrow. When Andy returns to the auto, she tries to return back to phrases with the truth that she is not immortal. Joe and Nikki are strapped right all the way down to clinical chairs in marriage. Slab, Copley attempts to inform Meredith that he's all of the samples he ought to ever want, and that he would not want to keep hostage anymore. Merrick says he's going to do whatever he wishes with Joe and Nikki, and he might not prevent till he has consequences. Nikki tells the nurse that they are not going so that it will produce any outcomes that human beings have executed the identical experiments on them with inside the past, with the identical justification of assisting human beings. And it is by no means labored. Now wakes up from a terrible dream with inside the midnight and is going outdoor. She reveals Andy going via her telecell smartphone and that they communicate approximately own circle of relatives, and the ache of being immortal looker meets with them to mention that he has discovered a likely location where Copley is probably in, that manner. They pull up outdoor, the fence surrounding, Cam PLS constructing, and begin making ready to input, and he instructs Booker to scout ahead. However, Niles refuses to undergo with him, pronouncing she cannot stay with killing human beings, and she or he desires to spend as an awful lot time together along with her own circle of relatives as she will be able to earlier than it's too past due, and he shall we her take the automobile, and the weapons and factors are with inside the root of a teach station. She enters the constructing on my own with Booger. They locate Copley in a room upstairs and keep him at gunpoint. Second surprise, Booker shoots her with inside the side, and restrains her. He explains that he set them up and taken every person to Copley and Merritt, due to the fact he hopes that Merritt can determine out a few manner to lead them to die, in order that they do not ought to go through anymore. It's then that Booker realizes Andy isn't always restoration and begins off evolve to panic. Guards come in and restrain Andy and Booker, and Copley protest, pronouncing that he does not suppose any will survive the test. They're approximately to place her via Merrick, does not care, and the guards take them away. Merrick takes Sandy and Booker to the checking out room. Joe and Nikki are restrained. Him probably explains to America. Kicks him out in units to work, looking to hold on hand alive, so they could run exams on her. Novels turns round and heads again to Merrick's base. She reveals Copley and he explains what is going on. He tells her that he has spent years doing studies on Andy and her team and all of the properly they have got executed for humanity throughout their lifetimes. He says, he idea with the aid of using bringing them in and doing this checking out, He might be assisting the sector, however realizes he become wrong. And then they could do extra right for the arena, if that they'd simply left them on my own. Niles convinces Copley to take her to wherein Merrick is maintaining them. In Copley offers her an access code. Niles makes her manner through the small military stored withinside the constructing and the squatties document to merit that Niles is immortal to she reveals wherein they are being stored and frees them. Nikki and Jojo are livid with Booker for betraying them and he would not need to combat anymore, and he convinces Joe and Nikki that now isn't always the time to argue approximately this, and Niles convinces Andy that she nevertheless has a promise to maintain it. A cause to combat MI gives all of them with guns and that they circulate through the constructing to try to discover and kill Merrick. They all do their great to cowl Andy, however. Quickly proves that she's nevertheless simply as capable. Despite the fact that she's not immortal, they get to Merrick's workplace to locate. He isn't always there and that they see that the elevator goes down. Nikki and Jojo go to chase after marriage. While MI remains with Andy, the elevator taking place turned into a ploy. In Merrick indicates up pointing a gun at ended Niles and Andy reenact the trick. And he performed on her with inside the aircraft, and Andy pretends to play useless to distract Merrick lengthy sufficient for Niles to address him. They wreck through the window and tumble numerous tails earlier than touchdown on a car, killing them both. Nikki and Jojo move to test on Niles and assist her out of the automobile, and he meets up with them. They depart Merrick's frame and pressure away later. They have lunch and Booker waits out of doors, while the relaxation of the team makes a decision what his punishment ought to be. For betraying them, Niles is going out of doors to consolation him, and he tells her she can be able to make an awesome addition to the group, and he talks with him at the seashore and says they have determined that his punishment can be spending 100 years with the aid of using himself. Since Andy is mortal, it method they'll in no way see every different. Again, the organization then confronts Copley, to whom the blame that any proof of them being immortal needs to be destroyed, and additionally ask him for his assist in solving the sector. The end. Like and subscribe to watch more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on your notifications. That really helps my channel. Thanks for watching.